Here we fucking go.
I mean, Jack, if he wants to shag my father, he's a dodgy leg at the moment, so he wouldn't be able to run away.
No, that's another issue, and that's one I'm going to say that's about consent. I don't want to talk to you too much about that one, but I don't think he would be too keen on that one.
He's always down for something new, Jack. You know my father, bro. We're very open family.
I do. Oh, no.
Today on the JakeMcBoss podcast, we get Mr. JackIgoe himself. He touched on all the topics that we want him to talk about. He was so open, like a book, and like my father after Jack was finished with him. So he came on, he talked about absolutely everything. He talked about Genesis, all that Saints Row situation that happened recently. He talked about how he got into streaming, SRN, all that stuff, casting, and the homophobia that he's experienced online and in person and stuff. So very interesting podcast. If you do like these, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and let's get straight into the podcast.
What's up, fella?
How you doing, Jack?
Hang on, let's make sure this is all fucking sorted.
You look gorgeous. I mean, Zoom quality is shit anyway, so we're fine.
Yeah. Let's take these off now.
I presume. How are you feeling? How are you good? I feel good.
I'm good. I had a few early classes this morning, but now I'm hard vibing.
What's your schedule looking like at the moment?
Not ideal. I think Fridays are one of my better days. Mondays and Fridays are actually good for me, but midweek is fucked. Because then when midweek is fucked during the day, but then come evening time every second day, it's Formula One I'm casting. So it's
is it all like online college?
Yeah, all online. Hopefully it'll be online for the exams as well, because law it's not as nice closed book in an exam hall. But open book, it's quite tasty. I'll have to say it's quite tasty.
I'm curious, how does a lecture work inside in college, especially for something as like serious as law? Like, you know, is it like one teacher in like a big classroom or something?
Yeah. You'd have one lecturer at the very front. You could have classes up to 120 odd people, just kind of listening, taking notes. People getting up and leaving during it can be distracting. You have to be really focused and oriented to the class, and if you're not interested in it, you're fucked from the get go.
How's an online class? Sorry, not an online class, an online exam. How does that work? Because obviously, could you not cheat? No.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Our online exams we've had, they left them open book. So what that means just that they'd give us 48 hours to send in such an essay on so many things. I had like a land law exam in January, which I fucking despise because I hate land law. Open book and everything, still only got 44%, scratching that pass, like, you know. But job done.
And are you in your last year of college or second last year?
I'm going into my last one now next year.
Madness.
It's a 3-year course. I'm in my second year, semester 4 now.
And after, obviously, we'll talk about this in a bit, but what's like the end goal for you with college? You want to be like a lawyer or something, or do you want to work in esports?
Solicitor. Basically, a solicitor now, when you say working in esports, if the opportunity arises, if I have that window, the same that the likes of Dan Carter has. Is it Dan Carter? No, it's Dan Pulse.
Yeah, Dan Pulse.
Dan Carter's a rugby player, isn't he? Jesus Christ.
I was thinking of the guy from EastEnders like me.
For the love of God. Yeah. But no, if that opportunity arose in esports, I'd probably jump at it, you know?
Yeah. Obviously, I saw you like Genesis a tweet, bro. He's starting a new org. Madness.
Yeah, I think the name, it's a nice name, but the whole idea, NLE Chopper. I think if you saw my reply, I said if I would hypothetically was to rebrand to Chopper and I was to join said org, would I then become NLE Chopper?
It's definitely a good name that would definitely go well on merch and stuff. Whenever I'm thinking of a name or like a logo, I'm thinking, okay, how would that work on merch? Because that's like, I'm trying to get a logo design at the moment, and it's all about like, how does that go on merch? How would that work on like a face cam overlay and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it will work.
You have to think slogans and stuff as well, you see, because like, especially when it comes to hashtags or anything like that you want trending, that you want people to remember your team by, like if it was phase, like hashtag phase up is huge. It's simple stuff like that they put on merch, put on everything. No loose ends. You could have so many different prospects with that. There's so many opportunities. It's a nice name, just has to be executed the right way.
Yeah, with the right guys, you know, as COO.
Yeah.
You know,
let me give a ring to our good friend Tack and see what he has to say.
Tack's coming to invest in 50 a month, bro. It's fine.
30? Does that sound right? 30%?
Yeah, 30% for that. Yeah. That's a good way to get us onto obviously everything that happened last week and everything leading up to. Cause I presume you're gonna make your own video about everything. But what's like your initial thoughts coming off both the podcasts after watching both of them?
Okay, so Well, I was in the first one, pretty much, wasn't I? I was like, how do I put it? I wanted to kind of, okay, one of the biggest misconceptions in that podcast was this idea of bias, because I think it wasn't bias, it was a statement. It would like, it's never going to be, you're never going to have people fighting Jenny's side when Jenny's not there. You know, it's always going to be one-sided when only Tak's there, and Neiman, who was, I want to say, it seemed as though he was backing him up a fair bit, and whenever he stuttered, I think that plays into Steve's showmanship. He kind of didn't want to just be silent.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking as well, Jack. I didn't think Neiman was being biased. Like, obviously he's being a little bit biased, but he wasn't being like overly biased. I feel like when Tak was stuttering, or like if Tak didn't know what to say, Neiman was just trying to like help him out and try and guide him through. That's how I saw it. But Genesis saw it in a different way, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, and I respect that. I respect that, because I think Jen kind of, when you see it happening in action, you just think everyone's out to get you. Because especially with the nature of everything that happened, you must think everyone's just out to get Jenny. Jenny's the big bad wolf, when really he's, I don't know, at the very best, I don't know, a toothless tiger. you know what I mean? No, not taking anything away from him, but maybe might look scarier than he really is. But now what I took from that was, in the first one, it was Tak. Was it scripted? I think he was on his phone. I think he had his phone with him, and he was getting DM'd stuff to say as he went along. No more than I was reading DMs from. I don't know if I seen you in the chat. No, I think, were you in the chat as well? Were you DMing?
I was in the DMs,
yeah. No, because I wanted to get everything. I wanted to kind of ask him the tricky questions, because Steve didn't really want to, do that. He kind of seemed to want to just get the flow of it. I kind of wanted to trigger a response, and I never really got it. He never really like properly. He addressed it in the end when I got him to answer straight up yes or no questions. When I said, did the accounts ever really leave your possession? And when he straight up said no, I was like, sound by me, fella. And I kind of guessed that much as well. I think you kind of figured that out yourself. I remember then I finished watching yours with Jenny there this morning. And I think you picked up on that in the end, because you picked up on the fact that Horrific was friends with Tak.
Yeah.
And then you kind of picked up then very, very late on that, well, maybe he just gave him the account for the sake of it. Now,
I tried to be extremely favorable towards Tak in some situations. I wasn't trying to be completely all Jen's side, and as I said to you when I did the original podcast with Jen, I want to be more of a devil's advocate in those situations.
You did.
So I tried my best, but when Jen is going off and Jen's going 100 miles an hour, shouting down the mic, "You little fucking cunt!" It's very hard to control him, you know.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think what happened there, and I'm going to go into depth in my video. It's going to be a different video to any of the videos I've made before, because it's nothing to do with Org itself. It's more of the personal relationship between two people and how that fell apart and how it's affected on a team. But from what I can see, it's that Tak liked the idea of money, but didn't like the idea of work, and Jen liked the idea of work and money.
Yeah.
but maybe fun wasn't as much up there. So it kind of two different ideas of business and what they wanted with the org, split it apart. I think I'm going to explain that in better detail, judging by the like there's DMs that you put up in your podcast as well, and stuff that Tak has said, but I suppose post all of this. So that's with a pinch of salt as well, It's a tough one, but I'll have to go into more depth on it, because there's so much to kind of piece together. I think in the end, both are in the right and in the wrong for their own respective reasons. But it's kind of more so favoring towards Jenny, because Jenny was doing everything that he thought was right.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like with Tak, I feel like he went into esports as like very naive, right? He didn't really understand what it was, how you would grow an esport. And to some extent, I wouldn't even say Jenny knew that as well. I don't know if you got that vibe as well. I didn't feel like Jen knew, okay, this is exactly how you do it. This is exactly how you get a lot of success. I just think it so happened it worked out for Jen. But I can see Tak's perspective of this guy's after coming in and stealing my org. And I think that's where I kind of sympathize him, because I don't think he fully understood what was happening.
It's all about perception. That's all it comes down to with business and with anything like that. It's perception. One of my favorite parts of that second podcast, the one that you did, it was the first one, only because this is a really nerdy law student moment, but it was Jen kept, it's like 3 or 4 times, like I checked on Google, a confidentiality agreement is something like an NDA. And I'm like, Okay, Jenny, I'm going to hold your breath a second. So, the 3 letters in NDA, what do they stand for? Do you know, Jake?
Non-disclosure agreement.
So non-disclosure. So when you don't disclose, you keep it confidential, correct? Yeah. So a confidentiality agreement is an NDA. So and he's like, I think it's something like an NDA. Like I was watching it, head in the hands, like Jenny, come on, lad, please. Nah, but one of the points as well that you made in yours, I'm probably going to address. It's that it's minor signing, and I'm going to go into depth on that on a law basis because that is. I'll do more in my video, but there's 2 ways that a minor can sign a contract. There is one for necessities. So for the same reason, you can walk into a shop and get a loaf of bread. So that's like a contract. You're building that contract with that shopkeeper when you present the money, and then he gives you the bread. Yeah, you know, that's the idea of a necessity one. And then there's a beneficial contract of service, but that applies mainly towards like child actors. If you get me, there's different revenues, there's different venues like that. There's different ways. I think the example you brought up was the idea of a waiver with RTE, something like that.
Yeah, that actually happened. That's what I was saying on the podcast. It happened last year.
Yeah, so what that is a different statute. That's the Broadcasting Act of 07, I think. That makes you sign a waiver. So if you, I don't know, say the RT dragged a prime time to a school, that they'd send home a waiver to sign, or they let them sign it on the spot. It didn't really matter that much. It was up to them. But the waiver is signed, and that isn't a contract. That's more of it's a liability thing, but it's because RT is part of the state, it's a bit different. RT is like, it's state owned.
Yeah.
So
I didn't really. I obviously I don't have a clue about contracts. I don't care to know about contracts. I'll leave that to the people who own. I'll leave that to the people who own the orgs and who want to employ people. So I didn't know. Listen, bro. I do research for podcasts. I did no research on podcasts.
No, I respect that.
On fucking contracts, I mean. So I just let Jenny say what he wanted to say, and I just brought in that point about the waiver. And obviously, you're after saying they're different.
Oh yeah, no, because just because I think it was in the heat of you were trying to get the point across. I just didn't want you to kind of get focused on the wrong idea, because I think you had the right spirit, the wrong answer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I understood it completely what you meant, and to an extent, it was a bit odd. See, one of the parts that kind of struck me a bit odd though was that Jenny did DM me, and he'd asked me, "Can a minor sign it?" And I straight up told him, "No, he can't."
Yeah.
And he's still like. And then he went and said he's going to try and get his lawyer to talk and stuff like this. And like, that's why I was left so confused. I thought that could have gone a bit differently. And that's why part of me still thinks Jenny was a bit negligent in that sense. But it's up in the air. I think that one I'm going to address more in my own video. But I think right now, at least Jenny's got a new venture on his mind, this whole NLE stuff. I'm excited for Jenny.
Yeah.
It's Saints in the mud, really. That's gone.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what Jen can do with that, because I think what Jen, and this is like the last point I'll bring up on this, and we can actually move on to the podcast. But I feel like I feel like when Jen took over Saints, he thought that he was kind of buying Saints, right? He thought he was buying Saints. He was going to be the main owner, and then Tak, because he technically what Jen thought was, Tak after signing the contract, 100% over to Jen until this date. So I it's really hard to like.
Yeah, it's hard to define. Basically, when how do I put it? I've done contract law for 3 years through Leaving Cert Business Studies, and then I've done general company law and governance now for the last. Well, the company law and governance, I'd say for the last. I'm looking at the calendar in the bottom right here. I'd say about 3 to 4-ish months. I've got it's not a huge idea. I'm still studying. Like, that was my class I had this morning. It was company law and governance. So like it's hard to explain, but when you're showing the ins and outs and a bit of the basics, you kind of pick up on it. I don't blame Jenny for misstepping, especially when he's not he's not exactly a law student by any means. A very good law abider, of course.
Of course, he's been to prison twice, and he came out, the better side of it.
No, not at all. But you get the point, though. It's just that if you don't have that knowledge to go with, then it's not as much completely his fault. It's just that maybe he got a bit more education is all. Do
you think every org should have one guy in the team that can just handle contracts? Because I don't personally like the idea of you going to a company for them to do the contracts. I think you should just pay someone in the org to manage that section. If you get me.
In Serenity, that's exactly what I did. That was my role. That was when I was in management between the months of January and June, July. That's exactly what I did. That was contracts. Well, I was out for like 3 weeks in late March. I can actually explain that a bit later on. That's not
Yeah,
the
we're getting to
story.
it.
But there was about 3 weeks when I was out there. But then when I got into it again, it was all contracts, having stuff to read. Because then, remember, we would have been approaching big players at the time. We would have been talking to corporations just about partnerships and so on. But then, obviously, COVID kicked us in the teeth, and then we had to let go of all the big talent that we had, which literally it depressed me. It really did,
Yeah.
because that it was all the work done, all the pitch decks, everything had to go, and we had to take away all the big numbers.
Yeah, I'll definitely get into that at some stage. I have like a little section here on my we'll call it a script of like SRN, Glorins, and the biggest client you've worked with and stuff like that. So we'll get into that in a bit. But, I want to bring back to where you kind of started, like in school, obviously, because how were you like in school in terms of like your career, like business wise, you know?
So if I'm gonna go about school, basically, I knew I wanted to do law. Law was always on my mind since like TY. TY was kind of where I established very quickly. Well, law seems quite good, doesn't it? Got into fifth year, and then you don't have to tell me. I'm hoping it does. I'm a few years away from that, but fifth year, if you do business studies in your Leaving Cert in fifth year, your first year of the Leaving Cert cycle, you get business studies, and the first unit is contract law. The first unit's contract law and business studies, and immediately it took over me. My teacher, bless him, Armstrong, love the fella. He taught so much. He taught me so much, and he loved it himself, and he loved teaching it, and it got me hooked onto the idea. And that was when I was 16. I'm going 21 now in June. It got me hooked on the idea of contracts. I was loving every single bit of it, and then from there it was all about getting the points for the Leaving Cert and all of that. And once that was sorry,
I found business really like not complicated. I found business really intimidating. Did a lot of people do that, like feel that way as well?
Yes. There's parts of business where it's almost as if you can't just go in with some backing idea. There's definitive answers for everything. Like, you might have this vague idea of what marketing is when there may actually be a straight up definition that you have to follow with certain points. And if you don't go in with the right certain points, you're fucked. You're fucked.
But with the Leaving Cert, obviously, like I didn't do well in the Leaving Cert. We'll put it like that. But what was it like knowing that you want to go and do law after school? What was that like as a mindset doing the Leaving Cert? Because obviously you need to do really well for law, you know?
Fear. An awful lot of fear. Because you're going in and and it needs to be kind of bear in mind where I'm coming from as well, because I'm in the middle of fucking Mayo. I've a family. It's my mom's single mother, 4 kids. I'm kind of trying to make a statement for myself. I'm living with my grandparents now, purely because there's no space below in the house,
Yeah.
I'm trying to make a statement for myself, trying to make a statement for everyone that I live around, and I'm trying to maybe with the right amount of backing, with the right amount of money going into it, I'm able to sort them out. Maybe I'll be able to put through maybe my younger sister or my younger brother into college when I get to a nice financial situation. Right?
That's amazing.
It's difficult.
I love
it's difficult, but it's you have to give yourself goals though. If you don't give yourself goals, you have no purpose. You need to set something in front of you that you need to work for to get there. To get this, obviously that'll be later on, I'd imagine. But to get as far as I am here, it's all because you have to set good short-term goals and have a long-term vision.
What do you think? After you're done with your course, how do you think it's going to be to try and get a job in Ireland with the current climate?
Tough, to say the very least. It's going to be tough, especially when there's lads, especially like myself, who maybe I don't have the aptitude to get through my law degree. Maybe I would have flunked if I had to do a sat down exam rather than all the online ones I've had to do recently. Maybe that would be the difference. Maybe that'll be where I made mistakes where I should have made my mistakes. Maybe fate didn't go in my way. How to put it? I could end up getting into Blackhall. That's the solicitor place up in Dublin.
Yeah.
I could get into Blackhall, but like, what if I'm of the lowest aptitude there and I don't make the cut then? it's so tough, and I'd imagine there's always going to be people with that better knowledge going forward. But I'd like to think that I can hold my own weight.
Yeah.
quite heavy at that.
what what was your childhood like? Because you touched on it a second ago. Your mom, and did you say 4 or 5 kids in the house?
I've a younger brother who's 18. I have another younger brother who is he 17 now? Sure, I think he's 17, and I have a sister who's 14. So it was during a very short amount of time. Like we'd know our father, we'd talk to him well. I think some of my younger siblings will be in contact with him fairly well, but it's just not. I suppose when I was about 13, 14, that's when we moved to me mother's. It was my grandparents' old house, and now I'm in the grandparents' new house, and they're just down the road now because the house didn't have as much space as they would have liked. So it was tough to say the least, but then at the end of the day, it's just you just learn to live with it. You learn to it's life. You just get along. It's never going to be easy. It was never meant to be easy. Mom always working. She was working 2 jobs, trying to keep food on the table. I respect that, and it's something that it's perspective. It's future. I'm trying to pay that forward. You always want to kind of. I don't know. I hopefully one day I'll be able to say to her, look, Mom, you don't need to work. Get the fucking bed. What are you at? Go away. It's just I don't know. It's a long time to go yet for anything like that. I'm just hoping that day comes sooner rather than later.
I think that's why you're so humble, and why a lot of people like relate to you and like listen to your opinion. Obviously, the law stuff does help because a lot of people are interested in law, and a lot of people are very uneducated on that subject, like myself, like Jen. But I think a lot of people do relate to you because of you are just so humble. Do you think you get that from your mom?
Yes. I think my mom is purely because you can always when you find a hard worker, you find a humble person, because she's always been the pillar of my childhood. She's managed to get me to where I am. She's supported me in every given way. She found ways to get me money in college when I thought I was running short. She found ways to put food in she found a way to get me an Xbox when I was 12, something like that, and she would only been working a bar job. It's mental. It really is mental. She has done everything for me, and it's because she's done so much for me. I feel as if I owe her, and I do. And it's I have to work hard. I have to work just as hard to be able to pay that back in the future going forward.
What's your relationship like with your dad then? Because you just kind of touched on that a little
bit. Well, look, in between the years, I'd say 2012 and 2016, poor to say the least. But like since I left, since I finished my leaving cert, it's that he lives separate away now. None like my brother works with him every now and then. He'd be my oldest brother. I have another younger sibling who'd be fairly attached to him as well. He's had a few issues in his life that he's been able to help. My father's been able to help out with, but it's just that I've never connected with him the way that my siblings have, purely because my siblings have had a different route. Like my brother, he's a mechanic. Well, he's an apprentice mechanic. Like I have another younger brother now who's, well, I'd say a bit of a sesh head. He's mad for pints a lot. I was never really like that. It's just they were able to relate to him an awful lot more, talk to him an awful lot more, and I suppose me growing up and seeing the relationship he had with him and my mum they were on good terms for a good while when after my youngest sister came, but then that it just broke down piece by piece. It's life. That's natural relationships. They come to an end. Like it's just I talk to him every now and then. I'd say I've talked to him in the last month, maybe 3 or 4-ish times. We drop by whenever we go shopping and stuff, because he wouldn't have a car himself. We'd have to pick up shopping every now and then, drop it down to him, have the odd conversation here and there, and then off again. But shit happens. It's a bit of love lost, but you work to get over it. It's repairing itself piece by piece, but yeah. There's a history.
I'll try not to get philosophical here because obviously I don't know the ins and outs of your life. I'm just going by what you've told me here. But do you feel like you protected your younger siblings from Because without like a father figure in the house, you feel like you protected your younger siblings, so that's why they're
to an extent.
Yeah.
Like, you have to think there was a time when we'd all would have moved out between the years 2012 and 2016. What used to happen was it would have been every Thursday and Friday, every Thursday and Saturday. Sorry, they would have went down and had dinner at my father's, and it came to the point where I just couldn't. I couldn't bear to face them. I couldn't bear to talk to them. I couldn't do it, and what happened then was that eventually they all started to follow suit because they seen me not going down, and then it eventually became just one of my younger brothers going down on his own. Then that stopped. It came with me mom working. It was me cooking dinners. It was me cleaning. It was me washing up. It was me trying to help out, do everything I could at home while mom was trying to bring home the bacon. You know what I mean? It's just it's a tough one to explain. It was a tough child because you have to bear in mind doing all that and trying to balance out studies, trying to balance out results, trying to get them onto an awful lot of pressure then with football and then social life. That whole aspect was always a bit of a kick in the shins, but we got there now. I'm happy where I am now, you know?
Yeah. So you live with your grandparents now. Do they support what you do heavily? They must do, right?
I think they have a rough enough idea of what I do now. In recent times now, I've taken on casting, you see. It's only within the last 2-ish months I've properly taken on commentary and casting. So then it's very hard to explain to them why I'm shouting, screaming at F1. But then they understand it then, because the way I explained it to my grandfather was no more than there's a commentator for the hurling or for the football and RTE. They have it for these gaming events. And I was like, they need someone to do it. Not a lot of people do it. And I think I'm up for the task and I get paid to do it as well. So I said, it's my way of being able to generate my own pocket money, my own revenue, being able to help out everything I'm doing here. And I said, that's why I'm doing it. And they back that. They do support it. They really do.
I find it really hard to like explain to my parents what I do. It's only I had a conversation with my dad last night because I was extremely stressed about last night's podcast with Jen because I almost felt like Jen's career was on the line a little bit, like with my podcast. And I was like, my
and
God.
Your webcam mic.
Oh my God. I was in a call with Jen afterwards and I was explaining to him. I was like, Jen's gonna kill me. I might die today. This could have happened.
It sounded like you're I don't know if you've ever heard that. It's from the Danny G from Smethwick, Birmingham.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever. That's how it sounded like the whole time. I was like, oh, fucking hell, go on.
Yeah.
It was all right though because it mainly was just Jenny venting with you, kind of spurring someone on. So it didn't matter that much, but it was funny. It was funny.
I hate putting out bad quality as well, and I've like really bad OCD. Like I don't know, I've never been like diagnosed. Don't get me wrong, but I have very bad OCD.
Oh, of course.
So when I see like that my mic isn't working properly, I was like, okay, Jen, can we put this on your channel maybe? And I was like, okay, the views, we'll put it on my channel. It's fine. We'll do it. So, and that was generally the thought process. I'm not even joking.
Yeah,
Jenny knows I love it. What was I gonna say? Where does your creative instinct come then? Because obviously streaming and stuff, you have to have some sort of creative drive in school.
My creative drive just. Really, it's just that off-the-cuff humor you try and work with. Because a lot of the stuff that I do, when you say creative drive, are you pertaining to my streams or maybe to my YouTube content or to both? Or as
kind of everything, because I feel like if someone's going to put themselves out there and do live streams, or if someone's going to put themselves out there and do content, they have to have some sort of creative instinct in them. So I'm wondering if that's something you have.
For me, so it comes down to my humor and how I want people to perceive it, because I think I enjoy putting myself out there. I enjoy people having a laugh, even if it's at my expense, you know?
Yeah.
Sorry now. I enjoy having a laugh, even if it's at everyone else's expense. It's just part of my like seeing other people laugh will instinctively make me laugh, even if it's at my own joke. And I do that habitually. I don't know, it's something about entertaining and making people laugh and just using. It's like different comedians I'd have had for inspiration would have been someone like the Frankie Boyle, a dirty bastard, someone who gets the right stuff out there. Well, not the right stuff. Maybe some of his statements are a bit out there, you know. But his general humor and jokes that get put out is something I just love following, love listening to, and something I think I could emulate in my own sense.
That's exactly, and I'm glad you brought it up because I'm exactly like that. My whole like creative drive and my comedy, because I try and put as much comedy as I possibly can into especially shorter videos. It's hard to do a podcast because obviously I'm trying to get points across. I'm trying to articulate questions to you, you know. But with shorter videos, especially, I'm trying to like my comedy comes strictly from Brendan O'Carroll, the Mrs. Brown's guy.
Yeah. I know Brendan O'Carroll. Boy.
That would be like, honestly, if I get him on the podcast, that would literally, I could die happy then. Like, that would be unfucking real. He's like the one guy I'd love to get on. What was I gonna say? What was it like trying to balance schoolwork and the life you had going on at home? Because I pick up on like you had sort of a tougher time at home, right? So how is that like juggling it with school, you know?
To give you an idea, up until the second year for me, I would have been that straight A student. I would have had pretty much straight A grades going through. Once I hit the first exam I ever failed was my geography junior cert mock. And it literally, getting the result back, seeing I'd failed it shook me, and I was genuinely upset. I went home and I looked and I went, it's not good enough. Why haven't I done well there? And during the week, I would have probably had to make maybe made 4 or 5 pieces of food, something like that, something like for kids to get along, to get their stuff done, because they would have been. My younger brother is the year below me. The younger brother again would have been 2 years below him. And then my sister at the time would have been in national school, like. So I would have been trying to sort stuff out like that while Mom would be working. She'd come home then, say like 8 p.m. And at 8 p.m., anything can happen then. Because if Mom needs me again, if she needs me to clean up or something like that, I'll have to leave me desk, whatever. And bear in mind, juggle a social life and being up I was set, because I'm very rural where I am, 7 a.m. is normally the wake up time, if not less, 6:30, you know? So long days, short bursts of sleep, trying to maintain a social life with all of that stuff. It was very hard to put schoolwork in with it, but I got it done by the skin of my teeth. And one of my biggest regrets, I'd say, is not being able to put in more time. But I did value my social life to a certain extent. Now during COVID, social life can fuck off. But at the time, it was something that I had too much of a focus on. I think that was my downfall.
Right now, you have an amazing friend group, I feel like. How did you meet all the guys you're friends with now?
Well, you know what? Best way to put it is, this is the Discord that I'm currently in now. The lads that I've always been close. Well, the start of it all. I think it all comes down to where I started in esports, to be fair, though. Because that's where it all came to a point. It came to the point in January. The first thing it was in January of 2020. It was Stride Supremacy. They were notoriously a great whore, but it was Kizzy, their owner, made a few twit-longers explaining why he didn't have to pay. It was a contractual situation, and I was like, doesn't really make sense. Because then I got given a contract by Snag who now I play tens with in Valorant, and I haven't talked to him since then properly. Only the last 2-3-ish weeks I started talking to him again. Snag sent me his contract. I had to read. I went, well, he is liable because he signed his full name, full address, everything. Like, well, hang on a second now, Kieran, because in his twit longer, he mentioned he got a lawyer and everything to look over. I went, now hang on a second, Kieran. You said you've got a lawyer, and I'm a first year law student at the time. And I went, that don't look right to me. And he deleted his twit longer, and he deleted a lot of his tweets, and he blacked out and deactivated it again. And from that point on, it was Serenity then it was Josh Mercy, he got me into Serenity then, just like that. And it was from there I started meeting all of my friends, because that was the platform I was given straight away as a manager. It was, as a manager, I got given so many different platforms. That's where I would have met the likes of, Chappie and Chili. Chappie, a designer, and Chili, he would have been a social media manager at the last team was Atlantis, before Atlantis went down. So he'd be well known within the community as well. But a lot of these lads I would have met very early on, and I would have been known by just my name as itself without the TV, just JackIgoe. That's him. That's the man. That's JackIgoe.
Where the name obviously Igo is your last name, right? I'm getting that right. Yeah. So. Yeah. What was the decision like to? I think it's a quite unique name, actually. So where did that name originally come from, like heritage wise?
It's Spanish. It's Iago, Iago.
Iago. JackIgoe.
Yeah, Igo.
Diego.
Yeah, it's the English translation. When you put it back to English, it's Igo. That's just how it comes back. And I didn't know too much about it. I just read a little bit into the surname and its history there. It's actually only about 3 weeks ago, to be fair to you. So good timing on that question. Fair play. But it's that's the name. Then it was JackIgoe and then JI. JI being, I want to say they're very I want to say unique.
Initials.
What's the word I'm looking for? Initials. Yeah, together to put them together, a bit unique to have J.I. So then that's when I kind of made that executive decision to put television at the end of it.
Was that to do with Was that to do with AFTV? I feel like.
Was it? I think I was JackIgoe TV before I knew Chris.
Okay, when did you
I'm
meet
trying
Chris?
To think about it. I met Chris through Alan. Streamer Elite TV. It was basically, Neiman knew me. Neiman knew me from different aspects of managerial work and through content and streaming. And he got me on a podcast. And it was a 15K podcast. And it was Alan that hosted it. And it was a good conversation. It was a half hour, 45-minute podcast. We had a good chat. And then afterwards, it was about 3-4 weeks later, it was Among Us was starting to blow up. And it was got me to one of those lobbies. And that's when I first encountered Chris. And then it was just I'd drop by his stream the odd time. He'd drop by mine. He'd see me sweating out like a bastard on Among Us. There was a week stage, I think, when I was in college, where I would be streaming for 5-6 hours a day, just straight Among Us, and just using. Like, it's amazing what happens when you use your head and your brain. It's mental. It's mental because you get so much information, and then people think, "Oh, he looks smart." It's like, no, I'm fucking talking. You should talk to tell us what's up.
Chris is such a nice guy as well. I feel like that friend group,
Yeah.
Chris, Alan, like all the Irish conquerors, they're such nice guys and they're very supportive as well. I feel like getting into that group is very beneficial. Do you feel like that as well, maybe?
Yeah. I think it's because it's all about supporting each other. That's all that it is about, because Irish creators as a whole are really underrepresented. I can think of 2-3 at the most big Irish creators, maybe Jacksepticeye, Nogla, being Irish, and then there's Minx as well. Oh no, she's famous. Yeah. She was a big creator as well. But it's just, we're so underrepresented, and I think Irish people as a whole are some of the most humorous bastards you come across. They'll make you laugh. They will make you have a great fucking time when you sit back and you watch their streams, when you watch their content. And I think the more attention you can give to other Irish streamers, the bigger we become as a whole. And then all of a sudden we could all be growing together at the same rate. That's how I see it.
Yeah. I want to bring it back to Serenity, because you joined them as a manager, right? As like in management, and then you transitioned into a content creator. What was that whole process like, and how did you meet Glorans and all those guys?
Okay, so it was it was the Stride thing. Then Mercy got me on board with Serenity, and when I first joined Serenity, it would have been Glorans, Whiskey, who's now the COO, and Josh Mercy. It was those three, myself. They had a few other managers who were kind of dawdling, didn't do too much. We had a head of design. That would have been your whole like corporate side to it. Those are all the holy moly, the managers behind the team. Everyone that brought Serenity to what it was. Everyone that was bringing you all the content that was Team Serenity, and then a few of them started to drop off then, because we started dropping some lads who were just, there was a bit of toxicity very early on when I was in there. Within the first 2 weeks, we dropped, I think, half the roster because they were just, it was a friend group.
Yeah.
People see
that as like clearing out deadwood in org. People think, oh, this org, there's massive problems going on inside the org and all this crack. Whereas in reality, it's like, if you're not pulling your weight, if you're not doing the right things, and if you're not representing the org in the right way, you are going to get dropped. And sometimes that just happens in a mass. Yeah. Like, it just happens.
Yeah. Prime example, I think, for that is TT9. And I respect Burst for what he did. He had lads around for 2-3 years, but he gave them the chop. He gave them the chop because they weren't doing enough. They weren't actually helping. Mad respect for him for that. What happened then was I got in, and it was over then between January through till March-ish. It was an advisory role, and I had one of my IRLs who was in Serenity as well. I got him in as he was one of my law student friends. And what happened then was we tried to make it. Eventually, it was only a Twitter account we got in the end, but we were trying to make contracts for players, teams, anything that we could do. And then we had we had two lads. I won't give names because I have respect for the young lad that didn't know. They tweeted out saying I had an illegal business to my college, and they were trying to really I'll use the phrase "fuck me." That day when that happened, I went into meltdown. I was like, this is because bear in mind all the responsibilities I had, everything I'd wanted, that long term vision of wanting to be able to help my parents going forward, all at risk because this person is in touch with me college saying that I had an illegal business operation running. I can tell you that thing that we never sold a contract, we never sold anything. I think they targeted the fact we had no GDPR policy, we had no simple stuff, we didn't have a business account registered, we had nothing done. It was a Twitter account at best, and they tweeted at our college, and my IRL dipped fully. He's no longer, well, he's on Twitter now, but he goes under an alias, and I left for about 2-3 ish weeks, and then I came back as Chum. Chum Managers was my
that's where it comes from, the Chum bucket. Oh my god, bro, that's insane.
Sort of. Chum was my nickname through secondary school. Basically, do you remember it was the Rick Harrison pawn shop meme?
Yeah.
Back there was 4 of us. There was a group of 4 lads, and you guess which one I was when they wanted to pit us in comparison. I was in fact Chum. So that but then with football and stuff, the nickname Chum stuck because there was a few Jacks on the squad as well. So I was a goalkeeper at the time. So then whenever they wanted someone to kick it out, the call out would always be Chum. And I'm like, oh, fair enough. Yeah, I'll kick that one. That's sound.
It's not a bad nickname, to be fair.
It's not bad at all. No. Bear in mind, it had other connotations now because secondary school then got a bit rough with the whole, the whole homo thing.
Yeah.
But it had different connotations towards the end of it. But I didn't mind the name, and I think it helped me be a little bit unique. I used that then for about 3-ish months. I used that up until the 5th of June, I think, because on the 5th of June, the same lad that tweeted out at my colleges DM'd one of my IRLs. Because what I did before I initially blacked out, before I initially deactivated, was I think I tweeted out stuff like use code CHUM. Because I was, it was just one of those tweets. You throw it, use code CHUM. And what he did then was he contacted one of my IRLs from Twitter saying, do you know where Jack is and stuff like this? And I was like, this sick bastards went and tried to talk to my IRL. So before he got the chance to tweet about it, I did. I was like, how's things? I'm actually Jack. I'm SRN Jack. Now, at this point, it was also somewhat public information because I tried to start an agency, a proper business with Mercy. It was FN Talents at the time. We tried to start that up. So my name was in the public domain anyways. I didn't care too much. I was kind of getting past it. But then that all sorted itself out. So I was back as just SRN Jack. And I was in management then for about 3 weeks, and then I called it quits.
What was going through your head when all that was happening? When the online stuff, which I feel like the online stuff and your personal life should always be separate, especially if you're doing content or if you're involved with like esports or anything like that. I feel like it's like having a job, It's like if you're a barrister or whatever, you keep your job and your personal life separate. So what was it like when those two kind of collided for you? Mentally inside here,
well, see, the thing is, it didn't matter that much to me because I was trying to bring my online stuff to my IRL stuff. Like a lot of my in real life friends, they know what I do. They know that I stream. They know I do commentary. They have that idea. In fact, I feel my IRLs are subs in my stream, and I appreciate every single one of them. Some will obviously if you're on, some will take the piss. It will be on nights out. It's the streamer guy.
Yeah, that happens. It happens to me too sometimes as well.
Yeah, no, of course. They take the piss and you're like, yep.
I'll see you in 2 years. I'm on $2.5 grand a fucking week, you cunt. I'll see you then. I'll be buying the points. You'll take my money, you little daft twat. Alright?
You've got the point. That's the exact energy. I'm kind of like, yeah, the streamer guy. Yeah, I used to be. To be fair, at that point, I would have been streaming to maybe 5-6-ish viewers on console, so it would have been a bit different. But same kind of. It's the same narrative. It's just I've been trying to get everything together. So then it was Serenity. That was what we're talking about. It was Serenity. So then it was the transition to creator. As it happened, I just stopped doing management and I left Serenity for about, I'd say, 3 months. In that time, I joined Hexar. I don't know if you know Mars GG. He would have been.
I wouldn't know them. No, sorry.
He's a creator. He's a sound fella. I joined that team then as a creator because I was a very small creator at the time. But then I started doing different stuff. It would have been staff cups. Bear in mind, a lot of my friends that I would have had on Twitter would have been staff and management. But then there was always the occasional Fortnite staff cup that would have been happening. And they wanted somewhere to look somewhere to have all the multi-streams up, someone to be streaming it all out. And that's my first event I could say I was somewhat casted, but it was like a viewing party.
Yeah, sorry, Jack, what was so obviously you're going to talk about it now, but what was it like going from management and being seen as a manager to then getting the phone call, I presume from Glorans or the guys inside an SRN saying, listen, Jack, we want you to join as a content creator? That must have been an unbelievable feeling.
I was playing Among Us one night with the lads, and it was fun. I was having great crack. And Whiskey, who at the time, bear in mind, Whiskey himself has his own story. He was in Serenity between January and March and left for 6-7 months and came back. He subbed to me. He gifted 5 subs. So did Glorans. And I'm like, oh, lads, fair play to you. I knew them. They'd always come to me every now and then when they had an issue. I was like trying to help them out. But then Whiskey said, check your phone. So I checked my phone. I was like, fancy joining back as a creator. And I kind of just stared into the camera with shock.
I was there. I was actually there. I remember that. I remember you said something along the lines of, I got an offer I can't refuse or something like that. I remember someone said, look in your DMs. Yeah.
Yeah, and I ended stream literally about 2 minutes after that. I left that Among Us game, joined my call with my friends, and went, boys, you won't believe what the fuck just happened. You won't believe what just happened. No, but literally everyone within Serenity is my family. They've given me the utmost respect, the utmost support. At the time, actually, it was in college. An incident had happened between myself and one of my mates now, and I was supposed to be getting a second monitor from him, and something happened along the lines. I was caught out, and I had input all my money into something thinking I was getting said monitor, and it left me short, and I had to stream off one monitor with my phone, and there's a couple of times where I nearly got banned separate stuff where someone had sent me something and I couldn't tab away, I couldn't drag something, I couldn't navigate away from it. What happened then was that Glorans, he reached out to me and he said, look, I saw your tweets, I seen the issue. He got me a monitor, he got me a mouse. He's like, you can't go left short like that. And
was there something with Matik, Jack, as well? Did Matik offer to buy you something as well, I remember?
That friend was Matik.
Matik
is my friend.
That's awkward as fuck, that. Matik, how's it going?
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking Matik. Nah, I respect, because for what happened, I respect, because it was in DMs then that we got sorted the same night, but it left me so short, and it caught me so off guard that I was so upset by it, because I did actually regarded Matik as one of my good friends. I did, because Tilika as well, one of his good friends. It's one of my better friends again. It's just, it caught me so off guard. It upset me so much, and Glorans came swooping to the rescue, and it was one of the best moments. I think I'm pretty sure I cried that day. I did, because it's another family you have. He's the closest. When you want to talk about esports, he's like that esports father figure, if you get me. He's a different fella, different breed. I have so much respect for Mitch. I really do. There was a time it would have been in June, just after we had to let go of Serenity's big players like Hardfind, like Astro, with COVID. And he made that move to say, well, I think we need to shut down Serenity. And myself and Josh kind of went, myself and Mercy were like, oh, fuck, that's not good. Basically, he had this idea of reopening and being fine. At the time, that wouldn't work. That wouldn't work. If they were to try and reopen on the note that they left, it would have really ruined the team as a whole. So we were fighting for like 2 days, trying to encourage. It would be Mitch and Sluky, who's he owns a certain percentage of the team as well. We're saying, lads, you can't let this go on. You can't let this happen. And yeah, they happily kept it open, and now we're booming in Valorant and stuff. And I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm so happy to have a team like Serenity to fall back on because they made it all so easy. But it was when I made that switch to creatorship, it was or creation, not creatorship. Have I just made up a word?
I think you have.
I
That would
think
be
I
a new
fucking have.
word. Yeah.
Creatorship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah. When I made that swap to creation, then they backed it. They backed it because they wanted to have. I think just they wanted to have as many consistent streamers as they could. I was consistently streaming at the time, even during exam periods. I would have been streaming fairly often. Cause it's all about my audience. I was so focused on those odd that maybe 10, 15 people that had dropped by, where I'm like, look at lads, we're having the crack here. Let's have a good laugh. Let's see what we can do. And they just wanted consistent streamers to just bring that whole family unit together. And now I think we have a team now of about 10-ish streamers, and I have so much love for every single one of them. Every single one of them. It's just so much respect across the board. Like the love in Serenity, you have to be in Serenity to understand it. You really do.
Maybe someday, Esra and Jake, get it trending. I remember my first stream that I actually watched you was, I think I actually know I think it was September the 12th, and you're playing Rocket League that night. And I remember I hopped into your stream, and it was the night before I got my Leaving Cert exams. I don't know if you remember that, but I dropped in and I got a few lads in. I think I hosted your stream, and it was one of my first Twitch streams. I remember
was this the Save It one, was it?
I don't think it was that. It could have been that night as well. It depends. But I remember I dropped in afterwards. I wasn't part of the Save It host forever.
Yeah.
But I remember coming in and your energy was unbelievable. Like you would nonstop talk to chat, nonstop like interacting, and I absolutely fucking love that about you and your content. When you so obviously you got the PC and stuff, and there's people like Bubbin, I think I'm saying that right, who kind of contributed to getting your setup.
I want to say that he's the sole reason that I'm able to be here in the position I am today. Bubbin, Ruben, I have so much love for the guy. He's the reason I'm in this position I am today. I can say he's donated over 4 figures to have everything I have here. What he saw one of the days was I was just streaming away, and I said, I think it was like for every sub I said I'd get up and floss. So then he subbed, and I started flossing, and then and then the issue became then he started gifting subs, so I was infinitely flossing for about 10 minutes, and then I went down to explain to my grandmother what happened and what was going on, and when I came back up, he'd gifted another 20, and I was next. I was genuine. Was I crying? I think I was. I get very emotional. I probably was, because a lot of what I do just involves the energy that I kind of bring to my content. Like I think what you would have saw that time in Rocket League, I would have been molding because Rocket League gets the anger out of me, and it's when that happens I love interacting with chat because they're like, "Lol, you're bad at this." I just like screaming back, "No, fuck you, I'm all right. Go away, you. I'm all right." That was the closest I ever got to a game where I could have been good at it, but it's because what am I trying to say? Because I had so much passion for the game and got so angry behind it, and people love dropping in and watching me get angry. It just made me laugh so much.
I see a lot of Courage JD in you, and I think I literally said that night. I think I literally said you're like the Irish Courage JD. Is he like an inspiration for you, like content wise?
Can't see. The truthful answer was no, but the more the truthful answer is he's never really been someone I've looked up to him a bit as regards content because he always has the smile on the face. That's one thing with him. He's very expressive in his emotions. But the more I think about it, I'm stepping piece by piece into his boots as such.
Exactly.
If you want to think from it's streaming to casting, then to just general content, and I'm doing all of the three. I'm trying. It's like I'm stepping into some really, really shoddy boots of his and work my way up. The more I think about it, I've never really thought about it like that, Jake. Fair play. I've never actually thought about it. I'm kind of right behind that, if you know what I mean.
You do look extremely like him, and and that's only half of it.
I've heard that, and personally, I haven't seen it. But then I bring it to some of the IRLs and stuff. Like, do I look like this person? Sorry, that's when you the grandmother. Yeah. Sorry. Where was I?
Courage JD.
Courage JD. Look at. I had to show then to some of my IRLs that I was like, come on, okay, do I look like him? Like I had the phone, like, do I look like this guy? and it was one of my friends, Leah, went, yeah. And that's kind of when I went, you fucker, you've got me. So I've submitted to that idea that I look like Courage, even though I don't truly believe I do. I think it's more of a bit heavy with the facial hair, you know. It matches it. It matches it. It really does. It really does. So I respect it, but it's I don't know. That's up in the air. I think Courage never really was an inspiration, but the more I think about it, I'm trying to trace his footsteps.
Exactly. Like, he went into from content creation and into Fortnite casting. And you're kind of doing the same thing, content creation into Formula 1 casting and Fortnite and stuff, you know?
Yeah, but it was like casting was kind of his come up because it was COD was his
COD League and stuff.
COD League and stuff was where he really started to grow, and where he started. That's where he made most of his friends in the forms like Nade Shot and stuff, you know. But like, what I'm doing here is that I've got my own connections here, there, everywhere, but it's like just as on a friendly basis. He got straight up business, and like, fucking fair play to him on that. With my commentary, it's all been about fun. I'd say, like the F1, for example, I don't get paid for that. I do it myself. That's my passion. I love it. But then when it came to the stuff for Luke Boy, that was a commission work, you know.
Yeah.
It's I reckon I'd be able to take on pretty much any esport and bring the same energy, but it's that if I'm not really into it, it takes so much out of me. It really does. Like at the end of some of the Loot Boy, because Fortnite's a game that I haven't really been able to set some love for a long time. But after a Loot Boy stream, it really saps the energy from you when you're trying to keep up with something that you just really have very little interest in, you know?
Yeah. What was it like when you got the phone call from Loot Boy? Because I feel like when you get a phone call from, I know disrespect to SRM, but I would say Loot Boy are like maybe like a bit above SRM, yeah? So
right, yeah, money wise for sure. Business wise, I'd agree. I think community wise, I'd be inclined to disagree because it's just an app. It's an app that's got an esports side. But I would agree that on a wider scale, they're much bigger than Serenity. But it wasn't as much a call. It was before their first cast. It was Pookie Face, I believe her name was. She was
Pokemon.
She's no Pookie Face.
The one who shows her tits and Pokemon.
No. It's she would have been Pookie Face. She would have done stuff in the World Cup. She would have been one of the
the Fortnite World Cup. Yeah, I know Pokemon.
Yeah, not Pokemon. Pookie Face. For the love of God, it is not my queen. It would never be my queen and savior Pokemon. But no, she was supposed to be commentating, and then she had to cancel last minute. So then it was through lads like at this point I'd already started F1 casting, and I was really behind it. I was loving it, and it was Nuki who would have been in Serenity. He was an editor, and like Arctic managers that I would have known for a while. They tweeted out in need of a caster at short notice, and then I think on Nuki's tweet, I think there's about 30-ish replies. 25 would have been atting me, and I the first thing I did was I DM'd and said, "What's up? How I can help? I understand you're at short notice. You need someone to step in," and they got me in straight away. They kind of showed me everything. They showed me the production team, everything. Loot Boy behind the scenes, they got so much going on. I have so much respect for everyone in Loot Boy, but it became it was a bit of a shock to the system to get the DM then from, it was Spikes. He's a manager within there, and then from Noah Eskin, they would have been the owners as well. So yeah, we want you in here. We'll get you sorted out. Just invoices X, Y, and Z, and we can sort that. And that kind of that was only about a month ago. You know, that's what really made me believe in my future going looking at casting. If I can get something like that at such short notice, especially with the connections I have, then I can really span out differently. I can really look other avenues, you know. Something
that I've really found out recently is Twitter is such an important platform for growing as a content creator. What was it like when you initially started like getting a lot more traction on Twitter, and when you started seeing like a lot of people atting you in posts like you should do this and all that?
It was a shock to the system, because I think I'm grateful for every interaction that I get, because I think I don't want to think I'm one of those fellas with an ego. I'll follow anyone that interacts with me very well. I'll like to talk to people as much as I can. When people ask me, I'm humbled by it. I am. And when they ask me to do so, I'll just straight up tell them. If like I've had people DM me and say, make a video on X, Y, and Z, I'll explain, yeah, I'll make the video, or why would I do that? And I'll be upfront. I'll treat them like like one of my friends, I'd be like, "Come here to me, fella. Where do you see the fun in that?" I had a fella DM me before. I won't disclose names, but he's like, "Can you give me a? Can you make a video on why it's so important to have Discord mods for a team?" And I'm like, do I look like a fucking Discord mod? I have no fucking clue.
We'll get meme credit to do that video. Now we'll set him up with a camera. We'll get meme credit to do that.
Absolutely, good old meme. No, but I was so taken out. I'm like, what the fuck do you think that I can do? I can't do shite with that. Like, how am I supposed to help anyone with the Discord mods? And like, I respect every interaction. I give all bits of gratitude. It became a shock then to have people I've had I have to say, in the last week, I've had so many people DMing me. I've had so much support from orgs. I've had like people like some lads from TNA have reached out on my TNA video. I've had lads from BL reach out to me. I've had lads from different orgs I would have made my Business or Brutal series on reaching out and being genuinely grateful. Like I had some orgs demanding that I make a Business or Brutal on because they want to know what I think looks wrong from an outsider's perspective. And I always try and give it my everything. I try and let them know everything and let them know what's up. And it can be toxic. It can be really take out the energy from you when you're trying to explain to someone who is insisting that that's not the case, that why their business is crumbling or failing. You have to really be open-minded to listen to one of my videos, because if you're stubborn, you're fucked.
What was it like transitioning your content from Twitch to YouTube?
Well, I want to say that I haven't transitioned it fully, because I still stream daily, essentially every second day at the least. I think when I started doing YouTube, it was because of Spectrum at the time. That was my first proper video I put out, was to do with Spectrum and the org that was, because they were oh boy,
they were a different breed of scam.
They were. It was a 14-year-old kid. It was a 14-year-old kid that everyone listened to, including some of the best managers in the EU scene. One of the lads who I have the utmost respect for would have been it was Hennes Hyman, a Cookie, G2 Cookie. He took the bait and he thought that Myro, let's go Myro. He thought he was going to get a nice bit of pay from Spectrum, and that didn't end up happening, unfortunately, because there's not enough that the managers can do, because they don't know enough. They hear there's investors here, there, everywhere, but they don't get the actual answers. When I found out through management that the message I got from one of the managers at the time was that it was the 14-year-old's grandparents were funding the whole thing. They were the sole investors, the sole people funding the org. I just went, oh, here. And then I tweeted out something like, I've been made aware of such a thing, and I hope my suspicions aren't correct. That tweet blew up. It got like something like 400, 500 likes, 60 odd retweets. Like, what's he talking about? People knew me as the Serenity contract guy who tweet the odd time about orgs and scamming and how funny it'd be. I used to do, it was the thing, I'd go on TikTok and I just do a dance whenever I heard there's another org scamming. Myself and Glorans used to have that great idea. It's like org scam number 3, and I'd just be doing the robot to a flashing strobe light the whole lot. You know, I'm like, oh, not another scam. How could you see this coming? When I made that tweet, so many big players were like, who are you on about? And I had to explain it to the players. It was the Loop, not the Loop Boy players. I said Loop Boy because Pink was one of the players. Michael was one of the players.
Lol Boom as well.
Mirror, Lol Boom. Yeah, he was the first one off the lot to reach out to me. I had Miro reach out. All of the big players reached out like, what do you mean? And then I showed them the DMs with some of the managers. I showed them some basic information like, I think you're fucked here. If you get your pay, if you do end up getting paid, you can't stay there another month, because he was systemically paying some people piece by piece. He paid like 4 heroes here and there. Maybe I think he paid half of Miro somehow, like 600 on a card, something like that. And you're like, how is he doing all of this? It makes no sense. He's a kid. How does he have this much money? But then you realize he wasn't paying anyone else. So my thought process is he may have robbed Mom or Dad's card and half paid off someone and let that story and that's where the story kind of got a bit of heat, because people were like, oh well, sure, they've half paid this person, maybe they're gonna fully pay me.
That was almost smart from him though. That was actually like a smartish move.
manipulative. He was very manipulative, even in his twit-longers, everything. He referred to me as a. I'll have to think about that one again, because he referred to me as something that I don't think I can say, and I don't, because I don't want to take away any of the spirit from this, but it was smart on his end, but it was manipulative, and I read between the lines. And when I made my response video, that was when they were prompted to make their final tweet saying, "We're closing down operations, but we're reopening in early January." It's
I think it's March there, bro.
I'll have you know, it's the 12th of March today when we're recording, and Seisha, you're a bit slow to pay off the lads, aren't you? It seemed to be a bit off. What I heard was that he tried to get in a call with one of the designers. Actually, it was Xyrox, and he tried to get in a call with them, and he tried to make a Discord group with his father. Apparently, that his father was on Discord, which I thought sounds interesting. Anyway, so then they hop in the call, and then they get told, "Well, okay, I can't actually call today. My father's in Australia," which is, bear in mind, he said my father's in Australia. He's not, because he has to have an Australian passport to get in to Australia. I don't know if you know the situation as it stands now down there, because they're hard vibing down there now. They're nearly COVID free, like. But you have to have an Australian passport, followed by 2 weeks of quarantine to get into Australia at the moment.
That's so smart.
No, it is. That's the approach we should have taken. But never mind that. But you could he just straight up lied to another person again. I went, he's lying to you. He's not telling the truth, obviously. And then he went, no, but look, he's saying he's trying to pay me off, this, that. And I went, okay, that's sound. Then he sent a DM to a lad and said, well, you were working for a non-profit organization. Now, bear in mind, when I do my research, I was thorough. I had some lads who understood French company a lot better than me, show me the French company directory and stuff, read straight through it. They were an actual registered chartered organization. They weren't. They were not a non-profit. They definitely weren't. And he tried to maintain that he didn't have to pay them anything. And that was when I made a few string of tweets, and nothing happened from there. Then he's just not paid them. There's nothing I can do. I've tried my very best. I've tried so hard to get some of these lads paid more than some of their managers have. I know some of these lads have actual managers, and apart from Cookie and Miro, Cookie's been dealing with Miro, but some of the lads, like maybe as regards Michael and Pink's managers, Limbless, they did nothing. And I know that their managers are 16, 17 with next to no grip. And I feel dreadful to see it all go on. But that's life. And that's what happens when you get a manager who's clueless managing a player who's also clueless.
You manage Paddy as well. How did that whole thing transpire with him and SRN?
It was through Serenity, because at the time it was me and him were the only Irish lads. Well, Shallow was there at one point. I don't know if you're the channel manager in Shallow. He'd do channel management for
yeah, I know.
He used to do for Hen and like Hardfind and Co. But it was through there we became just chatting away, good mates. Then he was close friends with a friend of mine called Babatash. Oh, whoa.
Dodgy. I'm gonna get demonetized.
Well, not only that, but Paddy's a bit young. But
Dad, put your willy away. Put it away.
Oh, what the fuck? No, but it was through like a Snatcher group. I was just talking to him. We were saying we were getting along, and I seen that it came to the point then where he had to leave Serenity. His contract came to an end. I was like, look, I said I'd do it for free, and he was like, sure, go on. I think he was paying another lad before. He was paying a German lad to do his stuff for him, and I was like, look, I'll do it for free. I'm not having you pay another scamming bastard for the sake of it. I was like, just look, let me do it, let me handle it. And I've talked with a few teams on his behalf. We've got him into it's Roski who we've got him into. I made sure he was paid well. Roski, a team that are they're new, they're fresh, they're German. I'm pretty sure are they Austrian? They're from the DACH region anyway. So I said, look, we'll sort that out. We'll make sure you're paid. We'll make sure you're paid in advance, because I'm not having a Spectrum issue here. I said, we'll make sure you're paid in advance. You're nice and happy, at least for however long we want you there. And he's happy where he is. I get along with Paddy. We talk the odd time now. I don't think I need to do anything for him now until he's back onto the old market again.
For German engineering at its finest. I have a question. I have a question here from Squishy. He said, what's the one content creator you'd love to work with / meet? Really good question, actually.
Really, really good question. I think because a lot of my humor comes from two Fortnite creators in particular, and it would have been like the Liquid 72 Hours and EMAD.
Oh yeah.
The cohesion between them, the humor. I used to sit and watch their streams for hours on end. They were so fun. Emad's shitey humor, Tom's get a grip Emad humor. It's that I'd love to meet either of those two, I'd say, or if not, probably Tim the Tatman.
Tim the Tatman, yeah.
Purely because it's just such a streaming legacy he's got behind him. He's one of the stalwarts of Twitch itself. He'd be someone I'd love to collaborate with. It's just one of those things. I have so much respect for him.
That's
really
amazing.
Do.
I love Tim, bro. He's so funny. I want to come back to what's the biggest client you've ever worked with?
I wouldn't see if you want to say client, then
the biggest person you've worked with, basically.
Okay, so I'd say at the time, I'd say it would have been Mexi. Now it's Luke Boy Mexi now, but when he was first getting into Enterprise, bear in mind when a new org like that starts off, the first thing that these lads did was they DM'd Glorance. And this is when I was chum, actually. People didn't know me properly. I was SRN chum. I was following 64 people. I had 64 followers. And I said, look at if anyone DMs you, Mitch, with issues and they don't know how to read a contract or they might not understand it fully, send them my way, and I'll try and help out as much as I can. Mexi, Mage, Queasy, the first of which I think being Queasy, Queasy obviously is one of the loveliest guys in the com. Mexi, Mage, Queasy, and I think when it was Mage as well, we had it was Verox as well, like in hand.
Yeah.
But him as well. I think it was the same contract that they both got. I had to read through theirs, and it was through. I think I want to say it was partially through myself and through their own bit of persuasion. They got themselves into EP because bear in mind EP at the time, the new org jump out of nowhere and has magical funding and stuff. You kind of question it, but I did my background search into Chowning Group, and so it's Chowning Group that own EP. It's Rob Maxwell who owns Chowning Group, and I was so cautious. I was so nervous about it because I just don't want to fuck with these lads' futures. I did my reading into it. I seen it was legit. I went, look at, they're a proper corporation. They could be out just for money or whatever, but they did reading through it. They wanted minimal percentages. They offered good time. They didn't really give themselves any real termination rights. It was a lovely, lovely piece of work. Their written contract. I loved every single bit of it, to be honest with you. It's something that you glorify. You're like, one day I want to be able to do something like that.
Yeah. What was it like when you got a Save It host for the first time? What was that feeling like?
So I've had two Save It hosts in my time. I've had two. The first one, it was a cash cup, and it was a Middle East cash. No, it was a NA West cash cup. It was on console. I was mouse and keyboard. I always had really bad lag, so I used to sit in the bridge between It would have been between
by the Stark Industries place.
Yeah. I don't know what it was called then. I've already forgot. But I just sit in the bridge and chill. That's what I do. And I've been talking with stream the whole time and on my phone and having the crack and having a laugh. But then it was a bit of drink was involved as well. So I got a little bit. It was a little bit deep. The lads in my chat would have been Fuzzy and Meme Creator. Fuzzy, one of my best friends now, Meme Creator, both mods for Save It. And then there would have been like Bobbin and Kinks and other lads who have been around in my chat for a long, long time. And it just it got the most of me because I was grateful for everything. At that point, Bobbin had gifted the guts of about 60 subs. He donated in towards the high end 3 figures. I just sat back, assessed my situation. I cried. I did. I was really emotional about everything that happened. And then it got onto Twitter. It was the clip of me crying. In fact, it's my most viewed clip on my channel. The clip got onto Twitter of me crying then. And then other managers saw it and they went, oh, okay, let's drop one in. And then I had Nemian, I had Fori Paul. They dropped in like €50 each. I think is the Fyros and Paul gifted like 10 subs each. And they were just throwing money at me. And I was literally like, stop giving me money, please. Stop giving me money. I was so overwhelmed by it all. And then towards the end of it, it was Fuzzy typed in my chat, something big's coming. Or was it a meme? one of something big's coming. I'm like, what? So
Something
then
big.
I'm playing away.
Get your cock
Yeah,
out.
I'm no. Bear in mind, I was playing Rocket League then at this point, and then before the alert even came in, the chat started moving. Like it was save it, host, save it, already. I was like, save it, already? What? No, he hasn't. Then I continue playing. Then you get the it's the standard OBS alert.
Yeah.
The chime. I looked to my right, and it was something like save it, host with 2.6k viewers, and I just collapsed pretty much. Not collapse is a bit of a, and I on the spot I just crumbled. I was bawling. I was just so thankful. That night I got, at that time would have been like 600, 700 followers on the spot. Then obviously that my follow bot kind of counteracted that, so that
I remember that.
I lost all of those. But I got that. I was so grateful. That same, in fact, that same night, because people knew I was working to get my PC and stuff. It was late that night. Queasy, actually. I remember how I mentioned he was one of the nicest guys I'd worked with. Queasy, he just saw the tweets, saw everything. I tweeted out with tears in my eyes, like, thank you so much, everything. He went into the stream, and then he just donated something like 50 quid and went, that's for asking for nothing when I needed help. That's for just being there to help out when I needed it most. And it's people's kindness has got me to where I am, and I'm forever grateful for that. I really am. Everything around me now, this desk, this PC, monitors, stands, cameras, the stream deck as well, for example, I got that from a like goal on Twitter. You know, it's it all came to a head at that night, and I wept, and I've never been more grateful. And I'm working to kind of I'm streaming, I'm creating, I'm doing everything I can to make those people realize that maybe they invested into something that maybe they saw light. Maybe there is something that they saw that is really gonna try and blow up. I really want to do them proud.
You got a big massive donation recently. Was it €500? He's just came in his pants, lads.
Oh, well, sort of. Glacky. Basically, it was a subathon, and I was like, okay, I'll just run it. Seems like a bit of crack. I said, it's something a $5 I'd get groovy to a song of anyone's choice, which I did, which was an interesting one. Regret it. Something like I was like, that was for 5 gifted subs, 10 gifted subs. I said I'd what was it? I said I'd make a tweet off the gifter's choice. Then I said for 20 I'd jump at the mattress, and then for and then for 50 I said I do all of them. But then for 50 gifted subs, then I said for 100 gifted subs I do all of the above and bark. This, okay, I mentioned how Etilica was one of my good friends from Matique, and he at Glacky in my subathon tweet and said, make him bark, please. And I kind of went, oh shite. No. I should have not put that in, or at the very least I should have cranked it up to the moon. Like, but I couldn't at that point because I'd made the graphic, everything was sorted. Stream comes along, I was streaming from 12 up until like 10:30. I have Glacky dropping. He asked me, well, how do you want your money? I went, what? Is that how do you want it? So I was like, and I told him straight, I was like, well, look, I gifted subs, I get them in a month and a half, and Twitch take a huge cut of it. So I'll let you play on that. I'll let you play that on your mind as you will. So then he went to donate it. That got sorted. There was issues then on that line. He wanted me to change a setting on my Streamlabs donation settings because so we could use a certain card, and that happened. I was taken aback, and then that clip that hit Twitter of me just drunkenly smacking into the flags haven't been the same since.
I was
they
in
really
tears.
haven't.
I was literally crying. It was the funniest thing. One of the funniest things. I was at the verge. I was gonna put it into my videos like a funny effect. Like,
I've had one of my friends has a constant GIF now that we spam in our Discord. Josh Mercy on his streams, that's his alert. The alert just of me smacking into me mattress. Like, it's such. I think I don't regret doing it purely because it's about showmanship. You know, you really want to live up to the crowd's expectations. 'Cause at the time when that happened, and I tweeted that he donated that amount of money, I was up on like between 50 and 70 viewers, and I was like, well, I'm out of my depth here. This is so, and there's like an elephant on top of the tree. I'm like, this has to come crashing down at some point, and it did when I decided to step up, kick the bottle, and hit the mattress. That just went tits up altogether. But oh my god! Then there's a clip of me barking as well, but that wasn't anywhere near as funny as me, a heavy bastard throwing himself into a mattress.
It was amazing. Truly, a sight for sore eyes.
Incredible.
And I'm fucking retired, so.
Absolutely.
I kind of want to move on because I want to talk about. Well, obviously, I put out a tweet today saying, any question for Jack, blah blah, and literally,
I regret retweeting that tweet. I regret retweeting that tweet.
Literally 20 replies. So he's gay. So he likes Willie. He likes. So he likes Willie, and he's. So I don't. You can put it anywhere you want. I have no problem with it. But
no, half the lads in there, like I know that have been with Keen, Fuzzy, and Co. They were all in call with me when I retweeted it, and then they all just started laughing because they knew their fucking plan. But yeah, sorry, continue. I didn't mean to cut you off with that. They knew their plan.
What was it like? And you actually touched on this at the start when you were explaining chum and with the GA and all that stuff. Well, when did you find out you were gay, and how was that like coming out in a school environment, I guess?
See, initially I thought I was only bisexual. Back in like second year, I was like, okay, well, attraction was something for me that didn't really add up, didn't make sense, and I confided in one of my friends and said, well, look, I think I'm gay. I think I'm bisexual, whatever. That went down. I got support from all of them. About 6, 7-ish people knew up until about leaving cert. Then I came into my grandmother, then to my mother, and so on. It became rough. Like, how to put it? Being where I'm from, the piss was taken an awful lot. The abuse was hard. It was heavy for a few years, because even before I came out, I would have been given some foul names just for my general action and stuff, like my actions. I didn't care too much. I've never been that bothered by it. But the only thing that bothered me, and I think it's through pure coincidence, it was that I was at the peak of my form with my club football. Within 2 months of me coming out, I was dropped from the first team.
Jesus.
I was starting consistently for about 2 years. Then they dropped me for the lad below. And because I do have a lot of passion for my club and co, I want to mark it down as coincidence, because maybe I was coming to at that point then, after I came and the abuse started playing, I was putting on a bit of weight and stuff. It became a bit bad. But I want to mark it down as purely coincidence, but it played a huge part getting dropped then from football, losing like that outlet, because then it came down to me trying to work, trying to prove myself. As a stud, I would have been on the bench trying to help out and still shouting at the same call outs I would have made if I was between the sticks as it was. It was painful. It really was painful. I just wanted the best for everyone on the team. I wanted to win games badly, but shit happens.
I'm so sorry that happened to you, bro. That must have been fucking horrible.
Look, I don't think it's worth apologizing over, because I think it was just merely coincidence. I'm inclined to believe it's coincidence, but it's just the timing looks odd. It looks odd. Losing that outlet, losing football hurt. It did, because then it was the lads through football some of the lads through football were the lads that would have given me the most stick, you see, because it's really,
just the nature. What happens, like, especially with sports in Ireland.
It does. Because these tough lads, and then you have, well, the big homo and Jack. So they're like, now at the same time, through playing rugby, through playing football, through all of that, they all gave me good respect, and I respect them all for it. But the piss got taken too far a few times. And I used to take it out of me a bit. It did, but then I had to develop my own philosophy for it. So what I kind of worked with was that if they're really bothered by what I'm attracted to, then am I really the weird one?
Yeah, it's
yeah. If they are they the odd ones for being more concerned about who I'm shagging compared to who they are? Are they the weird ones? You know, like why is my personal life and my personal interest an issue of theirs? And once I started using that narrative, I was like, oh shit, this is sound. I don't care anymore. That's when I was really able to put everyone's opinions to the back. Well, not their opinions, but the negativity to the back of my mind and pursue doing what I love, and that's in the form of entertaining.
what was it like? Because obviously, we had a disagreement about what Genesis was saying a while back, but like the xenophobia and all that. What was it like? I'm just using that as an example. What was it like when? Did you ever get abuse online for being gay? Because obviously, like it's I don't know what the exact word. It's like a place where that happens. Like.
Yeah, no. The stigma is that it's online. When you're online, it's anonymity, and it helps you out because you don't have to face consequences for what you say. I've got a lot of it. I've had like one of the funny. It's a funny tweet looking back on it because of how stupid Sappery. Don't know if you know who Sapper is.
Not a clue.
But he's a Bosnian Fortnite player who dropped out of school after a fourth place finish in a hype cup. I see you. It's pretty. Just know I see you.
Hype cup. He dropped out for a hype cup.
Look, he dropped out, and I can't remember what I tweeted out something like I was like at least now I understand why I'm gay. It was like I think it was a thirst trap on TikTok. I think I fully understand. And then he went, "You're gay with question marks." I reply yes, and his response was, "Hope you get well soon." And I kind of went. So what I did the way I combat stuff like that sometimes, I retweeted that. I didn't quote tweet. I just straight up retweeted it. And then what I saw happen very quickly was the tweet had one like. After about 40 minutes, the tweet had one like and 30 replies. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like when the like to reply ratio is that off, something's wrong.
Yeah, it's never good. Like.
Yeah, but I do get a bit of shtick on like there was one stream I had where I was vibing, having a good time, and I think I was off the back of a Michael host. I think Michael hosted me with like 150 odd viewers. I was on, I think it was on one of my last console streams even. I was having a great time. I was genuinely smart. I had a few drinks. Then I had some lads who now I know are sound, but I know they're sound now. Now that I've talked to them since, but they came in and brought such a like throwing stuff like, "Oh, will you shag me?" This that. You're like, "Oh, fucking grow up." I know them as kids now. Like, "Oh, come here, gay, but you're queer." You're like, "Oh, yeah. That sound." Your dad. It's not okay. That's another thing I'll touch on as well. There's
He's gonna touch me. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Let me get the lube.
No,
Daddy, get the baby oil. Thank you.
Fuck's sake. No, but when it overwhelmed me at that point because I had around 90 viewers, and we chat with, it was bad. I was reading out every message out loud at that point because I was drunk, and it was taking its toll. So I was like, "Look, this is a bit much." So I was happy, like, because I also get as much gratification out of sending 80 viewers over to another streamer who I know is having a great time, So I was like, "Look, I'm going to end stream and end it there." Once I ended the stream, and a few of my friends who were in the stream saw what happened, they were tweeting out at these boys, giving them so much fucking hassle. And I'm grateful for my friends at that. At that point, we liked Dylan, TNA Dylan. He was one of the first lads that tweeted out. I think I'd back him from the likes of Josh. Hosh, ex-SRL social media manager. Hoshua, yeah. He used to always. Those lads have always backed me up when I've been kind of put into an odd position like that, and I'm always grateful. But the point I was saying to catch up on is, it's one thing saying if you're in a game saying, "Oh yeah. Okay, so Jake, I imagine I'm angry to you, like Jake, I get angry and say I'm gonna fuck your mum. No,
she's open.
Not 1 minute. but okay, but you've no idea how triggering it is to someone. You go, Jay, I am going to rattle your father's back doors in. Wait, when you bring up the father, people get so upset. They get the narrative changes completely. They don't know what to do, and I'm sat with the biggest smile on my face because I've got the Joker card. Like, you fucker, I've got your hook, line, and sinker, and that's when they start to crumble. Because then I had one lad before. It was a lad that TT9 actually picked up, and they after once they seen, because I linked them the tweets then and what happened. Once they saw, the first thing they did was they kicked him. But his name was Jack. His name was Jack Fenn, or at the time he was Zypher Jack, or at least he kept the Zypher in his name after he was dropped. And he tweeted out like, "Oh my god, you're legit gay." And I was like, "Yes." Then he took his because I the flag in me bio, and he took a snippet of that, replied, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gay, yeah." And then he went, what are you going to do? Suck a dick or something? I'm like, well, yeah, preferably your father's. And then that's when it all went tits up, because I was protecting. It was he was tweeting out stuff at Boop. He would coach Boop. He was a Serenity coach. I always back the Serenity lads and beef. Yeah, it's family. But what happened then was he started tweeting it. Then his friends started piping up, but then they all blocked me. Then after I started applying the same logic to them. So what we ended up doing, a collective, there's about 20 of us in call. I went to, lads, I've got an idea. I'm going to need your help here. We're going to ratio his pinned tweet where he joins Zypher with me saying ratioed by your dad's boyfriend. And holy shit, it was just a picture of me staring at I might have the tweet somewhere around that I can send it to you afterwards. It was just me staring at the camera like ratioed by your dad's boyfriend with a smile on my face. And the fucker got so rattled, he hid the reply. I think I doubled the likes on his tweet at one point, but then I almost doubled. Yeah, sorry, it's grandmother there again. I almost doubled the likes on that tweet and stuff. And I was like, yeah, fucker, this is what happens when you be an absolute bastard online. You get the worst of it online. Though I didn't get as it wasn't as bad in person because you learned to handle it. But online, it's a different one because you hear it and you're like, do they mean it? Is it their perception, or like are they just saying like, I don't know, fag this, fag that, the other? It's just you get over it, because it's at the end of the day, I'm in the Fortnite camp, and whenever I see a Fortnite lad telling me stuff like that, I'm like, right, here we fucking go.
I mean, Jack, if you wanted to shag my father, he's a dodgy leg at the moment, so he wouldn't be able to run away.
No, that's another issue, and that's one I'm going to say that's about consent. I don't want to talk to you too much about that one, but I don't think he would be too keen on that one.
He's always down for something new, Jack. You know my father, bro. We're very open family.
I do. Oh no. No, but yeah, it was tough, but it's once you have your coping mechanisms for when people are being dickheads, it's easy. My coping mechanism is now violence.
Jesus.
Well, verbal violence, obviously. Like,
of course. You'd never stop someone. I think we're actually going to wrap it up there, bro. I think we got very deep in that podcast.
We did. That was fun.
An hour and a half. Fun. GG's.
Juicy content, baby.
Very good, that. Bro. We hit all the points I wanted to hit on. You were very open, very honest about everything, and I love that.
At least I could do.
Yeah, I think my last question to wrap it up is, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? I ask it to everybody, so where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? So
5 years' time, looking at my academic route, that will put me either in my first year of being a solicitor or my final year of law school as such. So I'll hopefully be studying hard in that front. But if not, if my content has taken off, maybe I'll be casting at lands. That's my goal. Casting at lands, Twitch partner, stuff like that. They're generic goals, but they're goals because you want that audience and you want people to hear that voice. There's nothing better than when you listen back to a cast and you maybe goosebumps from commentary and stuff. Different stuff that always play in your head, but that plays on my head. I love amazing. That. I'll leave Jack's links all down in the description: the Twitter, the Twitch, and the YouTube. So go drop him a follow or a sub. If you don't, you're a bit. I would have said a homophobic. I would have said Joe. But yeah, I'll touch on next one. Thanks for watching. Bye. Good luck and God bless. And don't cry for my father. Bye.